short prayer, as is what we do in Mother's Union. May my words be used to further the Lord's work and spread his word. So I've been asked to say a little about the aims and the current activities of the Mother's Union, but also how I see the writing, Alison's writing, Treasures from a Deep Mine, and how that might be used for Mother's Union members. So I wonder how many of you here have heard about Mother's Union, and if you think about Mother's Union, what do you imagine that we are and we do? Do you imagine we're a group of ladies who meet for afternoon tea and have a chat and maybe a prayer? Or do you think about governments across the world and maybe United Nations and things like that? Interesting. But I'm not doing a talk to Mother's Union, I'm doing a talk to you. So let me tell you a little bit. When Alison was a member, we probably had about 1.2 million members. Now we've got 4 million members in 84 countries. And I'm afraid we don't count Finland as a country because that comes under Canterbury, so it's quite interesting. So there's a lot more really than that. And all of those members work both within the church and within their local communities. And listening to any member always makes me think about a stick of rock. I've forgotten my stick of rock, it's in my bag, but we had a stick of rock made, which has Mother's Union written all the way through it. Thank you for and we sold it at an annual meeting, it was just a bit of a joke. Well, that's what Mother's Union are. Once you're a member, you're always a member, and it's almost in your DNA then. And reading Alison's book, that shows that this was true for her too. She used her time encouraging others, both in their family relationships and in their faith. And this is still the ethos of Mother's Union, although she may be surprised with some of the changes within the movement since her time. We're now consulted by the government in the UK on several areas of legislation regarding families, faith and our work. And we also input significantly to the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. But our main day-to-day work is to empower members in their faith and in their family lives, and to run initiatives to transform lives. Somebody was saying to me earlier on that we need men. Well, we actually have men's group. Someone suggested they call themselves Menu because they meet together to support each other in their faith and in their family life, because men need to talk about their relationships. They need to talk about problems or difficulties with their children and grandchildren, and they need to enjoy each other's company, so they often go out for a meal or to the pub. So men would work quite well. But we don't care what people call themselves nowadays. They can be anything they like, as long as they follow our aims and objectives and actually live in faith and do something about it. So the work of transforming lives within Mother's Union is quite broad, and I thought maybe it would be useful to give some examples of our work over the last year, which has been a very odd year, as you might imagine. But generally, we need to consider local needs, and our initiatives are geared to that need. So whilst programme work was delayed in a number of countries, Mother's Union volunteer networks mobilised to educate communities around the world about COVID-19, especially overseas, correcting misinformation and teaching on prevention methods, hand hygiene, distancing, all those things which we were told about and took for granted. In the UK, members who were self-isolating worked with those who couldn't get out to identify and provide for local needs. For example, providing scrub bags for hospitals and other items for patients and families. Unfortunately, domestic abuse was identified as a second pandemic, And so last year we raised funds for and delivered programs in Uganda, Tanzania, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Myanmar, as well as the UK, to raise awareness of and counter domestic abuse. And just raising awareness made a difference. We managed to, one group noticed that 25 young girls had been trafficked and managed to do something about that, getting back to their families. We delivered evidence for a United Nations report on the scale and the issue of domestic abuse and submitted papers to the United Nations on the status of women to back that up, and ran a workshop on how the churches, all of the churches, are working into keeping that abuse going, which was quite an eye-opener to many. In the UK, Mothers Union worked with the church and other agencies to influence the domestic abuse bill. We don't try and do things on our own. Let's work with others who are also doing jobs. So we're not proud. We'll work with other people to make things happen. And often that's why we're not noticed, because we do it on the back of other agencies. We raise awareness and work against modern-day slavery, especially more recently. And that's partly because Mothers Union are the eyes and ears in communities. And so we've had to educate the members of the things that they should be looking for and how to report that into the system. And fortunately or unfortunately, we've had several court cases that our members have reported issues and they've been taken forward. Hopefully people have been helped through that. As most of you, I'm sure you've been using virtual media over the last year or so, and we've had to get some of our members used to using Zoom to stay connected, but not just in their dioceses, but across countries and internationally, and that's been really useful. And we've had twice weekly meetings of members in over 30 countries to make that work happen. So they've been helping each other with all the issues of COVID and what to do and what the latest stuff is and where to get vaccines and one thing and another. We managed to continue with our literacy and financial education. And this enables mostly women, but men too, to do practical things like read medicine labels. We all take that for granted, but if you don't know what dosage you're giving your children, that's quite an important thing to be able to do. To go to the market and sell your goods without being cheated, and to start small-scale savings schemes. So many of our members have started businesses and used that money to educate their family. We say if you educate a woman, you educate a family. And they also use it for the good of their whole village. In the UK, we have quite broad work, depending on what the need is and what's in the local area, but we work in contact centres to bring families together who might not otherwise be able to see their children. We work in prisons in all sorts of ways, whether it's running, whether it's just giving them Christmas cards, whether it's helping prisoners to keep in touch with their families through doing bedtime stories or whatever. There are so many ways. We run holidays or special days out for those who couldn't manage on their own, whether that's through a parent disability or a child disability or lack of money or all sorts of reasons stop people being able to do things. And it might be just paying the money to a school so a child can be included in the day out that's being provided by the school. So depending on what that local need is. Run parenting groups. We provide emergency items for hospitals, and that's been very useful for people being rushed into hospital during COVID times. For refugees, for the homeless, and we provide starter packs for people moving from a refuge or a hostel into their own homes. It's no good having to go and buy ready meals. You actually need a set of casserole dishes and a set of saucepans to go to cook for yourself and your family. We escort prisoners who've been released, and this was something that came up recently because very often they're met by someone from their past life. And that might be a negative influence on them. So if we take them to a place of safety where they'll be supported, they have a better start. So all of this is what Alison was involved in. And in promoting and enabling and encouraging her members, she's been part of this story. And I can tell you her book has already been used for members as a discussion aid in their meetings. They might just take one chapter and use that depending on what they wanted to do. But I can see them using it as an Advent course, or as some of you have already used it, as a Lent course. And in fact, there's enough material in it to use it for both. It could be used for church study groups and for personal reflection. And I think that if you read a chapter, you can dwell with it for quite a while because there's too much in it, and then go back and reread it and see what it says to you. But like many good things, as in Mothers Union and in life, Alison was given a gift, and we are given a gift. But it's for us to use it wisely.